Welcome to Tulsa, Oklahoma. It's one of those big cities that I never hear anything good about. And while it didn't really impress me either, here's a mall that does. This is the Woodland Hills Mall. The day is the 4th of August, 1976, and the Woodland Hills Mall would host its grand opening celebrations, complete with a 9:30 ribbon-cutting ceremony, a gala event featuring many prominent names, from Mayor Robert LaFortune to a Comanche Indian princess named Pan Chibiti Dakin, pardon if I'm mispronouncing that, and many others. As developed by Home Art Development Company, the Woodland Hills Mall would feature the following anchors: Sears, which had opened ahead of the rest of the mall, a rare original Dillard's, and a store by the name of John A. Brown. With over 100 specialty shops across the mall between these anchors, the Woodland Hills Mall was sure to cover your every need. I've done some poking around in Tulsa, and I have noticed that the city has had quite a few malls in its history. Two unnamed ones that appear to have gotten away. Then you have the Eastgate Mall, Tulsa Promenade, Mall 31, etc. So even for the time, competition was stiff. However, Woodland Hills Mall was far enough away to carve out its own niche, while most of these malls were centered around one another. In fact, if my eyes don't betray me, 3 of them were across the roads from one another. I've also heard nothing but horror stories about mall security guards in Tulsa as a whole. In fact, to cut a long story short, Woodland Hills Mall is the only mall in Tulsa that has not only survived, but it's still thriving. Now that the Tulsa Promenade is closed, which I have some unpleasant things to say when we get to it, the only other malls that have survived in any capacity is Mall 31 and the Eastgate Mall, the latter of which has been completely reconfigured into a business center. And while it is another mall that we'll talk about in the future, public access there today is questionable. Someone will have to let me know if I can still go into that mall and walk around in it. As for Mall 31, well, that was a purpose-built community mall, and I may have to come back for that someday. Getting back to Woodland Hills Mall, it was sure to be a hit, and in 1982, the mall would see an expansion that heralded the arrival of their 4th anchor, Sanger Harris, and a new food court, among other stores. The John A. Brown store, however, would close up as the company got acquired by Dillard's, and Dillard's already had a presence at the Woodland Hills Mall and opted against running 2 anchor stores. The vacancy would at least get filled in by JCPenney in 1985, and while all this was happening, slowly but surely, East 71st Street would over time see many shopping centers and big box stores go up, cementing the road as a major retail corridor. This can sometimes help the long-term viability for malls, as they can become an anchor themselves for the retail stores around them. $1995 would be a big year for the mall, as it underwent an $8 million facelift, which would be complete just before the most important part of the year's 4th quarter. While changes have happened between then and today, this would ultimately be the mall we're now familiar with. Out were the dark earth tones and wood grain of old, and in was a much brighter aesthetic with granite and marble flooring, and more tidy wood, metal, and glass fixtures. This would serve as necessary to not only deal with competition against other malls, but as well as to remain fresh within the eyes of customers. And, well, at least from here it looks like it worked. Even as the mall got bought out by Simon in 2002, it remained strong. Turbulence would hit the mall between the 2000s and today, with the first bit being only minor. Foley's, which was already Sanger Harris once upon a time, would turn over to Macy's in 2006, though the bigger problem would come up much later in the form of Sears. Sears would see its anchor pad transferred into a company called Seritage Growth Properties in 2015, and in early 2019, Sears would finally close, occasionally seeing pop-ups in its place, like that furniture liquidation gallery you might have seen at the beginning. However, a long-term solution would be needed to replace Sears for good. In August 2022, Woodland Hills Mall found an answer, with the Tulsa City Council voting to redevelop the Sears pad and make way for a Scheels All Sports. Known for having a blend of sporting goods shopping as well as gaming arcade experiences and even an indoor Ferris wheel in some cases, Scheels would be seen as a great fit for the mall. Work is still underway, but if all goes well, Scheels is on track to open in late 2024. May the Woodland Hills continue to prosper. There are a couple asterisks that I need to address. At the very end of 2023, there was a shooting incident at the mall which took the life of a 21-year-old. Police say that this was a targeted event. I won't go much further than that. Now, this does bring up one of the fatal flaws of Tulsa, which is its crime rate. I have seen worse, but judging by the numbers, it's not good. Now, while I haven't heard many good things about it, in the big picture, Tulsa seems more like a mixed bag on paper. Although the user reviews on Area Vibes are not kind. Now, there are a couple 5-star reviews, and they phrase it as the greatest city ever, which I find hard to believe. The ones in zeros say that it's the worst place on earth, full of crime and rude people. I also find that hard to believe, actually. Although, that said, while my experience wasn't terrible, I can understand the sentiment about rude people. And Tulsa does have some bad eggs that can really screw it up for everyone else. Don't shoot me, I'm just the messenger. As for my thoughts on the mall, it's a pretty nice place. I mean, you have your standard fare of shops, eateries, etc., but it also looks fairly nice. It's not my favorite mall aesthetically, but it at least looks pleasant enough to be in. Bright, airy, even has a subtle warmth to it. I do wish it had some more color though. Until next time, Tulsa, this is Doomie Grunt wishing you and the Woodland Hills Mall farewell and good luck in this mad, mad, mad world. One more positive about the Woodland Hills Mall is that it's air-conditioned. Tulsa Promenade will teach you why that's a big deal.